Okay, so now let's start raising some D gain. Let's see what the effect of the increased D gain is. And let's just add 10 points of D gain. And we'll do some more of those prop washy turns. We can immediately see the copter is much more controllable in those prop washy turns. Much better. Even just, wow, even just that little bit made a huge difference. I'm still able, if I get aggressive on the throttle, to bring out some oscillation. But I have to really try, and it's not nearly as bad as before. The copter is pretty smooth in a straight line. We're still getting some prop wash oscillation if I do sharp turns. On flips and rolls. I think that's an improvement. Let me try and do a really sharp one. We're still getting some oscillation there if I try really hard. But the situation as a whole is much better. Big bounce there. Let's add some more D gain and see what happens. Let's take it up to 20. You can see the prop wash handling has gotten much better, even when I'm being more aggressive on the throttle. It's hard to bring out those oscillations now with the D gain added. And that's the primary way I tune D gain, is by its effect on prop wash oscillation and oscillation when dropping from a height. Although this copter is doing very well at that dropping from a height. When I climb and lower the throttle and then let it fall and raise the throttle, it doesn't oscillate very much. I don't know why that is, but it's been very good at that from the beginning. Let's look at the flips and rolls. Improvement. Yeah, big improvement. I did hear some prop wash oscillation when descending there. But overall, the copter's flying really well. Let's put it down and add some more D gain. Land somewhere flat. Now let's take the D gain up to 30. Just keep adding it in. And almost no oscillation there. And even if I leave the throttle up, which I did, those turns should really bring out prop wash oscillation. It's doing very well. I'm pretty sure this amp meter is not reading right, because I'm pretty sure that this battery gave me more than 600 milliamps hours, but hey. All right. Now I'm going to keep adding D gain, but you want enough D gain, but not too much. Don't be afraid of D-gain. Some people are like, oh, you want the least D-gain you could possibly have. And I don't agree with that. You want enough, but not too much. It's like salt in a soup. Put too much in, nobody's going to like it. You don't have enough, it's going to taste bland. You just need enough. But don't be afraid of it. The thing is, you want to watch to make sure that your motors aren't getting hot. That's going to be a sign that the D-gain is definitely too high. And the amount of D-gain you can put in is going to depend on how vibration-free the copter is, and so forth. So let's give the D-gain a little bit of a bigger bump. Now, let's just bump it up to 50. On most of my copters that I build, I feel safe putting the D-gain at around 35 to 45. But you would definitely want to be sure that you didn't have excess vibration, hot motors. Every copter is different, and the D-gain is the one where you can destroy your motors if you do it wrong. So I'm going to try and raise it enough that I start to see the signs of excess D-gain, but not so high that I destroy my copter. I'm going to try and really throw it into some of these turns at high throttle. And you can see the prop wash oscillation is now almost completely gone. The oscillation is very high frequency. You can kind of hear it there. But you can't see it hardly at all. The copter is almost perfectly handling the prop wash so that the motors are responding to the prop wash as fast as it's happening, and the copter is staying pretty solid. Now the thing to do next is to bring it in and check the motors to see if they're hot. So let's do that real quick. None of the motors are at all hot, so that's fine. So we're safe to raise it more if we need to. But the thing is, once you get the copter flying right, you don't need to keep pushing it, right? You're just going to stress it and make it work harder. So once you got it flying how you like it, you can leave it alone. But let's go ahead and raise the D-gain a little more. Let's take it to 65. I'm going to see if I can bring out some signs of excess D-gain. No, it's still... Not hearing any oscillation, any of the crickety sounding oscillation that is indicative of excess D-gain. And the motors were super cool. I frankly don't want to push it any further, but for you I will. There. Now that you hear that oscillation, I'm going to do it again. It's a kind of a fluttery oscillation. It's not doing it much though. Let's bring it back in and see if the motors are hot. Motors are still not hot. Well, they're starting to get a little warm. Let's raise it a little more. This is higher than I would fly it. I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes. But the reason that you don't want it super high is if you tune on nice, well-balanced props, everything's fine. Then as soon as you get an unbalanced prop, everything goes to heck. And the copter, you smoke a motor. As soon as anything gets unbalanced or get more vibration, you'll smoke a motor. So you want to be a little conservative on the D-gain. This is way higher than I would really suggest flying it. But hey. See if I can get some D-term oscillation out of this copter. It's starting to get twitchy. And a little unresponsive. There, do you see that video noise there? That's excess D gain. That video noise was excess D gain as well. The motors make. Alright, this is not good. I can't get it to do anything bad, but I don't want to keep pushing it to the point where where it damages itself. So 90 is certainly as high as you would ever want it to go. Motor's still cool. Jesus. Really super impressed with that. Let's do some flips and rolls and just look at what the copter looks like with this level of D gain. That was a D-term oscillation. That kind of crickety sounding oscillation. Bounce there. Okay, we're going to bring this back down again into the realm of sanity. The copter also it's at the end of the flips and rolls where I chop the throttle. It's not descending as fast. The motors are reluctant to spool down. And that's also a sign of excess D gain. In fact, it can happen that you have the copter, you throttle up and the copter just takes off and tries to fly to the moon. So that's a sign of excess D gain. This copter is well behaved enough. If I were to notch one of these props so it was out of balance, it would start behaving much worse at 90. But I don't want to take a risk of smoking a motor in order to do that just for the demonstration. All right, so I'm going to take the D gains down to a sane level. I've given you a few examples of what excess D gain sounds like. That crickety oscillation is a good sign that it's starting to happen. And hot motors is a good sign that it's starting to happen. I feel like if you're getting up into the 90s without anything bad happening, that's probably more than you need. And what I mean by that is there's a relationship between the D term and the P term. You see that as we raise the D gain, the bad effects of the P gain started to get better and started to get better. Then eventually we sort of turned a corner where they were getting worse, or at least they weren't getting any better. What we see is that as you raise the D gain, then you can also raise the P gain because the D term sort of negates some of the bad effects of the P term being too high. And what that means is that there's no single perfect good P gain that gives you the best tune. As you tune the P gain higher, the copter will feel sharper and more precise, but also will be a little bit more prone to oscillations. And as you raise the D gain, some of that effect will be negated, and you'll be able to raise the P gain a little bit more if you want to. So now we're going to go back to 45. Just pick that number out of my head, and let me do a flight like this. I think 45 is a good value for where the P gains are right now. We're getting a little bit of oscillation on prop wash. Let's look at flips and rolls. You see how the copter was drifty? Right? It's really drifty in turns. Drifting to the side right there. It feels really sloppy in the turns. That's not something I can communicate to you, unfortunately. That's the yaw gain being the yaw P gain being too low. It feels really drifty and slidey in turns, like you're flying on ice. Let's do a flip and a roll. See, this is decent. Decent on flips and rolls. Let's look also. Let's just do some. So now I'm going to land. And I'm going to raise the P gain. And let's watch what happens as I do that. Let's take it up to 85. What we should see is that some of the negative effects of excess P gain come back out. But if you do this exercise at home, the copter will feel a little bit sharper and more precise, perhaps. No oscillation there, smooth. Some prop wash oscillation came back out though, so you see that? Copter is a little bit more. The prop wash oscillation has come back a bit. And you see that's, I'm not sure if you could see the copter kind of sliding there. Let's do some flips and rolls. And we got a much bigger bounce now after the roll. Flips are, the copter's pretty good at flips. So now what we could do is we could elect to raise the D gain a little bit. Now I know that the D gain can go a little higher. From my D term experiments, the motors didn't even begin to get hot. Let's take it up to 55. And this is the trend. As you raise the P gain, you raise the D gain a little bit more to negate the negative effects of the excess P gain. And you can keep doing that until the motors start to get hot or you start to see signs of excess oscillation. Some prop wash oscillation there. Prop wash oscillation here is better. That's still pretty bad there. My camera up tilt has changed. You may find, though, that you get some negative effects that aren't really fixed. For example, these bounces that I'm getting at the end of the flips and rolls, I don't think they used to be there, or if they were, they weren't as bad. Let's see if adding some D gain makes them a little better. No, see? And there was a really high fluttery oscillation there. I think we're making things worse, see? So we've pushed the P gains up. I really think we're making things worse. So I think we've found the limit of the tune. We're not getting any better. We'll put it back down again. What I want to do now is I want to reset back to the beta flight